Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 366, and today we're going to be doing battle with Samira Fizz. And so, Samira Fizz, far and away the best deck coming out of the Glory for Novori. We're talking here in terms of the elusive version, the one running Fizz and Father Fury, Wiggly Burblefish, and Fleet Admiral Shelley. It was just a very non-interactive, a very fast, and a very powerful deck, arguably one of the strongest ones of all time. But when the balance patch came out, like 4 or 5 cards out of the deck got nerfed, and it started to fall out of the meta a little bit. But as time has moved on, a lot of the cards didn't get nerfed. Samira somehow dodged the nerf axe, and the new versions of this deck have started to come about. And so there isn't a real consensus on the exact numbers across all of these cards that a lot of the top tier players like to really use. I started off with infinipatrons list. He typically hangs out in the top 5 of the NA ladder, and I got into some games with this and had a lot of fun, and it's a quite strong deck at the moment. And so where the deck has started to push from the elusives theme is now moving more directly into the plunder mechanics and including powder pandemoniums. We saw a little bit of powder pandemonium in the previous set, but this is the new hotness, if you will, in terms of the standard builds of Fizz Samira. And so what you're going to see out of this deck is we are really looking to maximize our mana spend throughout the course of the game, and we're really going to be out here trying to outspend our opponents in terms of mana. We don't really want to be in a spot to where we have to overbank mana at any point, and we want to do our best effort to convert all of our mana into as much damage as possible. And so what you're going to kind of see out of this style of deck is it's very deceptive in the amount of burn that it's able to pull off. We have this package of Warning Shot and Stylish Shot, Pirouette, Monkey Business, and Powder Pandemonium. All of these cards deal 1 or sometimes 2 damage to the opponent, and it doesn't sound like much, right? If you come from a gaming space like Magic, where you have that classical play of playing a lightning bolt to the opponent's dome on the first turn, it's historically terrible, right? That's just one of the beginner level plays that you learn isn't particularly strong. But with this deck coming out, that's how a lot of these plays feel. It's one of these things where I look at a lot of these cards and say, oh boy, we're about to play a Warning Shot for a single point of damage. That's not very impressive. Why am I playing these terrible cards? But it's the kind of sum of the whole that really brings this together and really adds a lot of power to the deck and what we're able to kind of come in and close out these games with. And so the thing with infinipatrons list that I come to like that's a little bit beyond what you see in a lot of the lists is this full collection of both Pull Shark and Jagged Taskmaster. This list goes a little bit further in terms of granting the bonuses to the one cost units, and I really liked the way that the Pull Shark comes in. It's a card that you can most certainly play on turn 1 of the game, given that we can play almost every single card in our deck on turn 2, but then you can also start to use it to activate your plunders on 2 if you don't intend on open attacking, and you don't have to spend a Warning Shot or a Stylish Shot or a weaker Pirouette to the face just to start activating your plunders. And so if you start clicking through the lists and seeing what other people are playing, that's going to be the kind of big difference between the list we're playing and what other people will be doing, is that inclusion of Pull Shark, and it's something that I've been quite happy with. Otherwise, again, we're just going to be really trying to slam as much damage to the face place as we can. The thing to kind of note with that is you don't necessarily go all in on the first turn. You will look to do as much damage as possible, but it's not too crazy to think that we just don't play any cards in the first 2 turns of the game. Then on turn 3, we have this kind of combo to where we go Stylish Shot, Elegant Edge, Jagged Butcher into Barbed Chain, and we still got to spend all 6 of that mana and got our aggression in just a little bit delayed. But that's the kind of big key concept to the deck, in my opinion, is maximizing the amount of damage you get out of your mana and doing your biggest effort to not pass on any turns to where you're going to be overbanking. But that's the deck. That's what we're going to be doing battle with today. Let's go ahead, jump on in, see if we can't get ourselves into some good games, have some good battles. All right. So up the battle first, a little bit of Karma set, and this is one of the weaker matchups for the deck. The matchup table for our deck actually looks quite strong, but the Karma set PNZ version is a little bit more dangerous for us. The things that are really going to cause us problems are decks that are capable of doing 1 damage AoEs, and so the opposing deck is most capable of doing so since they have access to Caustic Riff. You also kind of run into a lot of problems with Jinx decks. Jinx Mega Death Rockets do a real number in terms of killing off all of your units. So a slight bummer here. We don't have a really strong way to protect the Samira, but I also kept a hand that wasn't capable of dealing an early plunder. And so I wanted to at least have the Samira so that we would have the means to generate the flare. So now that it comes down to being time to dropping Jagged Taskmasters and Monkey Businesses and the like, we have access to just a little bit more 1 damage pings. And so again, another kind of awkward turn. I'm going to go ahead and just drop the flare, deal the damage, and bring out the Monkey Business. I want to ensure that we have a way to deal a point of damage to the opponent's face on this turn. And so Monkey Business, not the most exciting of dudes to be dropping, but he's doing exactly what we need here and getting this just little point of damage in. So I'm going to go ahead and send the attack. Have to get this plunder in, and now we can start to pop off a little bit. We can get our Jagged Butcher, we can get our Father Fury online, start to just get a little bit of advantages along the way. Taskmaster, going to play Father Fury to get in the way of the Clockling. He's going to give us a point of mana back. Then we can use that point of mana to drop a Barbed Chain. Ooh, and the always nice generation from from Father Fury, having the stylish shot come in. No complaints from me. No complaints. So what do we hit here? We got a Fizz. We got a Pool Shark. We can work with this. Starting to get kind of stacked up on these Powder Pandemoniums here. Let's drop the Pool Shark first.
A game. Go on then.
Might find ourselves wanting to block something, and I'd rather just not be blocking with Fizz. But I don't really want to advertise that we have Fizz in hand when opponent's over here hanging out with the augmented Clockling. There's the Riff. And so do we want to go ahead and protect our Fizz at this point? I think... Oh, no, we haven't done the damage to face yet. Okay. I was going to say, well, we can play the stylish shot into All Out, but we haven't actually dealt any damage this turn. And a slight bummer in losing the Powder Pandemonium, but it's not the end of the world. All right, Samira turns up. We got a Taskmaster. Another very powerful turn. Look at how strong you're about to get, Pool Shark. And then having this second Taskmaster pop off is incredibly strong when you have the Powder Pandemoniums, right? Generating all of those 4 attack units. Quite good. Quite good. Okay. Got that 6th cost spell rolling through. No complaints here. Then I'm not going to use the Challenger. I don't really care what he comes in and blocks. We're getting to the point of the game to where we really just want to start throwing some of our units away. We would kind of prefer to just get this completely full board. And so that's going to let us get a little bit more damage in with these Powder Pandemoniums. Right, the stylish shot comes back. We've got our opponent down to 9. Not a bad go. Thing we'll have to kind of watch for here is if we get an opportunity to actually just play the Powder Pandemonium and deal 6 damage to face. Like if opponent comes in and wants to play set, then we'll find ourselves in a spot to where we may actually just come in and do a bunch of damage. But with him going for the smooth mixologist, it's okay. We still have some pretty good cards here, dealing 1 to the face, getting the monkey in. That's going to deal a point of damage this turn. We'll get another monkey next turn. We have a pretty juicy board. So are we interested in adding this monkey business? I think it's okay. I'd like to see the opponent just kind of come out and spend a lot of mana so that we can ideally get the Powder Pandemonium through a deny. So far so good. If he doesn't do anything to the Powder Pandemonium, like if he just comes down and plays a unit, we get to do 4 damage with a monkey, 3 damage with the Taskmaster, that's 7. We would get to 8, 9 with the 2 powder monkeys we have on board. Then we could potentially get up to 10 with the stylish shot coming back into hand.
I see every move. Your attack is obvious.
Alright, so let's see if he's gonna spend any more mana here. Let us pop off with the Powder Pandemonium and rip it, roll it, GG it. Wah, wah. But see, boards like this are why we do struggle a little bit against the decks with the 1 damage AoEs, right? If we're really counting on this big monkey attack to happen, then opponent being able to AoE all the monkeys and prevent that combat's a bit of a pain point. But good enough here to get the 5 damage in. Mark it a W for bust. Pool shark aggro, if you will. Coming right through. We're getting fairly close to that 500 LP mark. I don't think I've hit it that high before. I can't remember. But definitely been making a nice little climb with this one. Alright, so this hand sucks. We want to find some 1-drops. I'll keep Warning Shot if we have stuff to do with it, but we don't have anything to do with it, and so let's dig for our 1s. We'll dig for our Samiras, try to get on board just a little bit. And this is one of these spots as to where I really appreciate the power of Pull Shark over something like a Swindle. Is that, you know, if you want to flip the attack token, it didn't, you know, really come down to the fruition that we wanted to with this turn. But if you want to think that we were going to get to open attack on turn 2 with the Pull Shark, and then potentially come in with Elegant Edges or Monkey Businesses or whatever, then we have a really powerful Plunder, and you don't get that out of the Swindle version. Right. Just a bit of a pain point on this board now that we don't have a lot to do. Stylish Shot was a fantastic addition, though. Gonna bring in both Elegant Edges. I want to try and ensure that we get the the Stylish Shot back.
Bring me your darkness, my Zep comrade.
All right. And so, no reason to attack with the Pull Shark here. Both of our dudes have Fearsome, so we can't block with the Acolyte. If we attack with the Pull Shark, he's just going to take the Acolyte block, the Acolyte block, and we're not going to get any cards back. So, take it just a little slow there. And then a bit of a bummer for this round. I don't want to just like come in and block with this dum-dum. I want him to have to come in and actually spend darkness on it. And so since our spells are kind of a hot mess at this point, I feel okay with just trying to dig up this trade with the Pull Shark and get this unit off of the board. Like, the opponent just has these options on the next turn to where they can like darkness something and then have a 3-attack unit and block our Fearsome. Not really excited about that. Conchologist comes in. The big darkness rolls through. All right. What you got for us, deck? Pirouette, that's not terrible, especially having the conchologist on board. So let's just start spewing, right? We'll drop the monkey business. We'll be able to pirouette. We'll be able to barbed chain, and then only be banking 2 mana for the turn. This is a round he'd probably like to be dropping the. What do you call it? The 4/5 lifesteal thing. So hopefully we'll get to deal some combat damage here. If he plays it, we're not going to, and we're going to lose our stylish shot. But I would assume that he's got another play here. Oh. Whoa. There it is. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. There's no way he rolls through this turn with no play. Just sitting on 5 mana, it's too easy. Vagar. Okay. So we lose out on the stylish shot, a bit of a bummer, but we do have this really big powder pandemonium for the upcoming turn.
I want my head, and I want that.
Lord Vagar, you cannot rush perfection.
Slightly awkward here in the sense that we want to get the full pandemonium next turn. So we don't really want to be dropping the Jagged Butcher here, but if we don't drop the Butcher, then we're not going to have 6 plunders anyways. So I think I want to just go ahead and drop him on the board. Where you add 1 to the Nexus, in with the Butcher. And then if he gets crazy with his attacks this turn, we do have this all out in hand, freshly plundered to try and get that extra damage in. Still got to play it. That gets us up to 6. No reason to just let it hang out, right? The card's going to fleet away. We're going to overbank that mana. Alright, Pandemonium number 1. We should be okay. The things we got to worry about here would be that lifesteal unit, the Ixtali Sentinel. Nothing we can do about it at the moment. But if he takes too much damage here, we're just going to follow up with the second Pandemonium. Hit him right to the nug for another 6-piece. Pretty good. Oop. a nice 11 points of monkey damage for the turn. 11 points of monkey burn. Feels good. Feels good. All right, next battle. It always reminds me in seasons past when seasonals was a thing. There was always a guy in the APAC region that just brought triple powder pandemonium, and I know that he made top cut in APAC at least once. I think he did it twice, to my knowledge, just playing powder pandemonium every time. And I really want to go and just give that guy a high five. He's out here doing the work. All right, reasonable enough start. I do like seeing Inferna pop up as we're up against Karma Set. This is you could kind of see in that last game how we were down to our last card, right? When we had that spot to where we had the second powder pandemonium, but if you want to think of that second powder pandemonium as just being literally any other card in our deck, then we were kind of light on stuff to do. So I wanted to just have a little bit more card draw in the deck. So we have the 3 pull sharks, the 3 barbed chains, and then we have access to just that little bit extra with the 1 copy of Inferna. Go ahead and protect this Fizz a little bit. We have the second warning shot in the hand, so we don't have to get too worried about not having any plunder activators, and we still have the monkeys and the like to help it a little bit.
The dark beckons. Where do you
stand on cold shots?
He brings out the Shadow Assassin, the world's best Fizz blocker, if you will. Nothing we can do about that, but that's okay. Let's see what we pick up now. All Out and Stylish Shot. So do we want to take an opportunity to just go ahead and get Inferna on the board? I don't think so. I'm kind of in this spot to where I want this Stylish Shot to activate, and if we play Inferna, it opens us up to, say, getting our Inferna concussive palmed and then a Shadow Assassin block onto Fizz, and then we may not be able to actually punch in the damage. I know we have the extra unit here with the Pulse Shark. Maybe that's enough. We are at risk of overbanking pretty hard here. Alright, I'm going to bring her in. He needs to concussive palm right now if he wants to stop all of this combat, right? If he waits till we get into combat, it's not going to work. But I guess as it stands, if he concussive palms right now, we can just not play Stylish Shot, right? We don't have to do it. Do we even want to? It's a valid question in that we do have the Plunder in hand in the All Out, and then if we draw a 1-drop for our Inferno, or if we hit a Warning Shot, then we'll be able to then we'll be able to play that card. So let's Warning Shot. All Out. We did, well, we picked up a 1-cost card, but we don't have the spell manas to play it. It's okay. I had to like stop and see if we messed up with the Fizz. I forgot that he is kind of close to flipping. It's not currently the case. We wouldn't have been able to protect him, but would have been interesting. All right, now we got problems.
Losers, get I saw you looking at me.
Now we got problems. I guess we could have like Stylish Shotted into Elegant Edge, but man, that seems terrible. That seems terrible. It does let us come in and draw a card instead of losing out on our Inferno, but that's rough. Alright, well, picking up a lot of power now. This is probably gonna come down to if he has the answer for Powder Pandemonium, right? If we're able to I wonder if did we just mess this up? Like, well, I was thinking it's like now that we look to add Jagged Taskmaster, if we miss out, like the Powder Pandemonium only generates 3 monkeys at this point instead of 4, and I was wondering if we should have just played the Taskmaster instead of the Elegant Edge, and then found ourselves in a spot to where we got all the monkeys, but we would have been 1 short. So now let's see what happens. If he's got the Deny, we're gonna lose. If he's got the AoE spell, we're gonna lose. But what else are we really doing in this game, right? We're so far behind at that point that if the Powder Pandemonium isn't effective, we're just not gonna win. But GG, on to the next one. It's still a spot I like to be in when you're in a matchup that's not particularly good, and you're able to present the question that they just must have the answer to, or the game's done. We're able to kind of pull that off here. So again, this is one of these hands that would be fantastically interesting if we were on the even attacks, right? So if we could play the Pull Shark on turn 1, open attack on turn 2, and then follow up with the Elegant Edge, Jagged Butcher. But we're not quite able to do that, and so we need to get rid of some of our hand. I'm going to get rid of the Fizz and get rid of the Jagged Butcher, see if we can't find a Samira or find something a little bit more interactive for the early game. Didn't find it, but Pull Shark's still ready to party. Just not against a bird. Not against the Crimson Pigeon. All right, a generated monkey business into another one.
Soul 10 stitches to awaken the blood within.
Bringing all the thunder. Gotta get a blocker out here.
Interesting.
So I don't think I'm quite willing to throw a point of damage in front of the Crimson Pigeon. It's like if we're able to pop off one Taskmaster, we'll be okay because all of our units will be so big. I'm gonna let this one roll. The thing that's kind of a bummer for this round is in order to hit a plunder, we're gonna have to monkey business. I just don't really want it. Alright. Here comes the thunder, look out. Some scary dudes from the opponent. Scary dudes. Alright, Samira turns up. We're gonna have to throw her away quickly. We really need we really just need the flair for the plunder and not so much for any of the attacks she's gonna be making. She's not I mean, I guess she can have decent attacks next turn because we already have the all-out in hand, but I'm really just interested in the token. And it's kind of a bummer with this round, given that oh my gosh, he discarded vision. It's like as I saw the Grave Physician coming down, I was like, oh man, we might be able to play Samira, play the Flare, play all out, win a combat, and then get a Samira for next turn. But
I excel at making heads turn.
kind of a bummer the way that rolled.
The sunbrock got me good.
Then so what's going to happen? He's going to attack. He's going to boost, say, Flame Chompers with the Crimson Pigeon. He's going to hook in the Elegant Edge. And then we can still look to, say, take down the Pigeon with Samira. Then we have to just give up the Pull Shark. I just don't... Like, maybe we're in a spot to where we could just give up one Jagged Taskmaster, but it feels like such a bad spot for that to be what we're doing. I don't think this is the recommended attack. Very greedy, letting us take down his two biggest units. I mean, he might be to the point to where he's already just got the burn, but letting us keep a blocker behind and take down his two real units is interesting. Interesting, I tell you. Now the Pandemonium. It'll be good a couple turns from now. The question we have to really ask ourselves is do we have to barbed chain this turn? And I certainly hope not. I mean, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. If we roll into this next turn without 3 units on the board, we're just going to get blasted. But if we don't play the barbed chain, we may not find ourselves with enough blockers. Now, I guess the kind of secondary thing we could look to do is just to play a defensive Powder Pandemonium. But we just get rocked so hard by this Jinx. I think we're in this place to where if we aren't able to get back to our next attack token, and maybe we should have attacked there. His units weren't very good and we could get a nice clear. I was just thinking all of our blockers survive a Death Rocket. But maybe we get to clear out some of this stuff. He goes get excited to face. Death Rocket will take us to 3. I think we're dead here. He's got 2 hooks out. We take 4. Okay, GG. But yeah, it's one of those spots to where like I don't feel like we can ever win the game if we're playing defensive Powder Pandemoniums. And so I think where we slipped up there was it's like you typically don't like to make those attacks, right? We always talk about this concept of making trades into boards to where your opponent can refill and we can't. And that ultimately leaves me pretty worried in the sense that if the opponent is able to like refill behind us, and you could see they came down with a lot of flame chompers and stuff. It was very realistic that that kind of thing was happening.
We playing bilge rules, son?
All right, gonna lead off with the old pull shark though. See if he's able to pull off any of these early damages. Doesn't face the mystic shot. Beautiful.
There's plenty of killing left.
All right, plunder time.
It isn't about who's better. It's about the coin.
Okay.
I excel.
Again, I'm fine with these Samiras. At this point, we have so much board. Like, this board control with Samira isn't such a big deal. And so if she comes in and eats Mystic Shots or whatever, that's all completely fine. I'm very happy to have her come down, the opponent spend a spell on her, and then we get a flare in hand, and we get to kind of continue popping off with our board. Now, the question is going to be is, do we even want to flare? It's going to be kind of 3 mana to the left, 2 for Monkey Business. Father Fury will give us a mana back, and then we can look to all out. We should be safe to Stylish Shot. Then we can decide later if we want to actually hook something with the flare. Guile's not the worst addition. His opponent brings in Tasty Fey Folks. Oh my goodness. So I think with this board, we have to deal with this Fey Folk, right? We can't just let this dum-dum sit around and generate a bunch of stats. I'm a little hesitant to hook it with a 2 health unit, right? The ideal hook into Tasty Fey Folk is going to be Powder Monkey, but if he's got a Mystic Shot or if he's got a High Note and cancels that combat, then we're just fucked. And so I'm going to give up our Jagged Butcher as a tool to take down this Tasty Fey Folk. Send in the rest of the squad. He's going to get a decent block with the Pit Professional. I assume he makes the trade. Well, his blocks don't actually feel that great, I don't think. Mystic Shot onto the Elegant Edge. Okay. We're right back to that classic spot to where we need to find a need to find a Powder Pandemonium and have it work. We found it. What's our plunder at 4? That's interesting. The only unfortunate thing here is we don't have any like real baits on this next turn where we can try and get them to play a card. It's like maybe if we draw a unit, we can say like play a unit and then guile something and then follow up with Powder Pandemonium and maybe they'll feel compelled to put stuff on the board. But it's a little bit of a weak point here. Let's go, dude. I just want to spew all my cards on the board, right? That's all. That's all we're here to do is just to slam all of our cards down. I think we have to lead in with the Guile, though. It's not going to be enough of a bait next turn to try and get some kind of cancel on the set. It's like if we play a unit and then Guile set, it's like what have we really accomplished there? It's not a lot. Now Samira comes down. She is like the lone draw that would have been quite interesting in terms of what we could try and get the opponent to do. Still going to drop her in, see how much mana they spend. But we really need this Powder Pandemonium to do the work. And so hopefully they'll spend a bunch of mana here. I would appreciate it, you know. Let's play something irrelevant. Well, I got a cat trying to sit on my feet. Don't appreciate that. All right, so how are we going to handle this? This is no good. I think we just have to drop the Pandemonium. I assume it's fairly obvious to opponent at this point that this is about to come in. But I don't feel like we ever win this game being like, okay, I'm just gonna spew off all these burn spells, maybe hook a set with the Samira. Like that doesn't generate any wins for us. Yeah. Let's see. You're one short of getting Samira to flip. So we're gonna just be stuck in this sense. So we'll stylish shot. Gonna flare the Samira. Take our hooks where we can get them. This is the kind of downside to playing this Powder Pandemonium version instead of the Elusives version, as to where with the Elusives version, you could most certainly come in here and just like pop off with the Samira and the rallies and just blast them kind of out of nowhere. But we don't really have that ability here. Rip Samira. We ever just end up passing this turn? I mean, I think if we get out of the turn still having Father Fury on the board, that's probably a win, because all these units are so bad. Now that's the Powder Pandemonium number 2. Maybe. Maybe. Oh my god. I wonder when these opponents ever have to deal with like cats just sitting on their feet. Oh, ran over her tail. I'm sorry, girl. Sorry. You know not to sit there. The stresses of life coming at you, man. The stresses of life. She's not learning any better. She just walked a circle around the chair. I kicked her away because it's too hot to have a fucking fluffy ass cat sitting on your feet. And rolling back and forth, I ran over her tail. She just walks around the chair and then just sits on my feet again. These cats are dumb. This used to be the smartest cat I had. She's the one that doesn't turn up on the video very often, and so she doesn't get she doesn't really get any of that screen time. But the other cats are dumb. Like the tuxedo cat that shows up in the video the most. She's very dumb. Then the black one that turns up, that is the tuxedo cat's son. Dumb as well. It's tough. All right, let's get into these combats though. Should be a fairly straightforward attack. This punches in the most damage. Currently a lethal, and then we have 4 damage in hand with an additional damage coming back out of the stylish shot. Oh my god, move. 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 Cool, claw my feet. I appreciate that. Ooh. This is why you all tune into the videos, right? A little bit of mediocre gameplay along with Bus just bitching about his cat sitting on his feet. It's tough, I know. I know. Alright, but here's the lethal. 2 damage gets us up to 10. We're going to get the stylish shot back out of this combat, and then we got the sweet burst kill coming right out of hand. Pretty cool, am I right? Pretty cool. We even got an extra damage from the powder monkey. I forgot about that one. The one not in combat. Alright, see ya. G. And so I think that's kind of an interesting spot to stop and talk about things, in the sense that this deck, the only matchups that are, at this point in the negative win rate for it are those decks playing the AoEs, right? So we talked about the Caustic Rifts and the Denies out of Karma Set, along with the Super Mega Death Rockets coming out of, things like Jinx. And this is the spot to where we still went 3-2 against that stuff, and we were in the position to actively win some of those games, even if something went a little bit wrong. And so it feels kind of nice to, carry a positive win rate as these bad matchups are turning up. And this is also one of these spots as to where we're currently dealing with a lot of people in the higher masters space,
We playing build rules.
and they're kind of at the top of the meta at the moment, right? As everyone in the higher points of masters are already familiar with this deck, they've just been kind of playing the counter decks against it at the moment. You shouldn't really be seeing that at like low masters or in diamond and the like, as it's a space to where it takes a week or so for the meta to really shift down. So if you're a regular follower of the old bust stuff, should get you right on top of that meta and ready to jump in and do some crushing.
Mama's home.
Give us some room.
But all right, reasonable enough turn. I really wanted to get this monkey business popped off so that we can get the plunder for next turn. I'm not super interested in what's happening with this one. It's the next turn that really matters. And so getting that monkey on the board should kind of shut opponent down out of combats a little bit, and then also potentially give us the plunders. So as it stands, I'm not going to play anything here. We'll see what they add to the board. But taking this 3-bank into next turn on a round when we intend to play both Monkey Business and Stylish Shot, it's a reasonable enough place to just pass. All right, so here we have 3 real mana between Fizz, Jagged Butcher, Pull Shark. We can just play all of that, and then we can still Stylish Shot Monkey Business.
A game. Go on then.
I got your 6 shortcake.
Tristana coming in.
Let's bring this home.
Definitely getting wider than opponent this round. I think. Can we play the Stylish Shot here? No, we're gonna. Well, yeah, he's out of units at this point. Let's spend it.
You started without me.
Not too much else we're really gonna be able to do with it. This isn't like super critical, right? Him having the removal spell and us countering it on the Fizz. We would like to get the Stylish Shot back, but losing Fizz, like Fizz is just going to die in this combat anyways. So having him fall to the Bandle Commando is not that big of a deal. But this space here right now is why I really wanting to add in things like that one copy of our one copy of Inferna, right? Because we're just out of stuff to do at this point. Oh my god, this fucking cat. Does anybody want a cat? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, at what point do you say, oh man, I'm tired of getting pushed and I'm tired of getting run over by a chair. I better circle around again just to make sure things are safe. Fucking A. Welcome to the videos, friends. All right, well here, we're definitely struggling at this point. We'll drop off the Stylish Shot because it's going to go away, and we basically just have to be drawing Powder Pandemoniums at this point. If we pick up the Powder Pandemonium, we should be able to win. If we don't find it, then we're going to lose. So, fairly straightforward at this point. This is a kind of interesting block into whether or not we want to actually put Pull Shark in front of the Castaway, and we do, right? The thing that we're looking for here is we want to find that Powder Pandemonium, and so if we can kill the Piltover Castaway, it's gonna be extra damage that we can send to face. If he's able to, lose his Castaway, take the Overwhelm equipment, and then put the Overwhelm equipment back onto Tristana, we've lost that game anyways. So I don't really like. I can visually see the concern in putting a Overwhelm equipment onto Tristana, but the game's done at that point, and it doesn't help us get to our goal that we're gonna need to actually win this game. Powder Pandemonium. that's not it. All right, Pool Shark.
Where do you stand on cold shots?
Maybe you can do it. No. You cannot. No, you cannot. GG. Alright, I think the cat's officially moved, though. We should be safe now. Okay. A little bit of Samira Kennen. I believe this is some kind of... I believe this is some kind of like infinite Kennen kind of thing. There's some combo that ties into using Kennen and the Mark of the Storms and then the Samiras to get kind of infinite rallies. I'm not entirely certain how it all plays out, but I do know that there's some kind of combo material there. So with this hand, I think we're okay to keep it all. I typically don't hang on to pirouettes, but as we're up against the thing I was thinking about is the possibility of, you know, the early Kennons, but with all these other elusives as well, the pirouette's going to have some real targets. So we pick up all out. Can we ever make something happen with Fizz? I don't think so. I think this is one that we just got to be willing to let go. See what happens here. I assume he just takes this damage most of the time. It does let us activate plunders on him, but... Is this a worthy pass? Like, I don't want to monkey business this turn, but... we might need that plunder for next turn. Just a matter of what can the monkey actually block next turn. There's not a lot. Not a lot. Alright, well, Fizz should be safe at this point, and then the monkey's not going to kill anything. But on this next turn, we might be able to pop off with some of this stuff. Taking the 2-bank with Inferna and being able to... being able to pirouette is fairly decent.
The balanced spirit may still fall.
The fuck? Not used to seeing that guy. welcome to Constructed, Pathless Ancient. Now Elegant Edge. I think I'm still on board with Inferna. Opponent shouldn't have a ton of ways to actually deal with her. And we should get to cycle through some cards with this pretty safely, I think.
No need to make a name for myself, just an impression.
Do we even want to bother at this point, though? Like, dealing the... We can say... It's just like one of these spots where if we want to try and get a card draw off of Inferna, we have to spend a mana to do it. I'm leaning towards just playing Stylish Shot, attacking with both Fizz and Inferna, and then trying to pick up the Stylish Shot back. This is a little dangerous, like risking our Inferno with this damage, but I think I'm pretty okay to trade away the Fizz.
That's sneaky.
Uh-oh. I didn't play enough of the Elusives version of this to just realize you should probably just not be attacking with this Inferna. Okay, yeah, I feel better now. Just seeing the stats kind of fall to Inferna and just like, oh no, this is a disaster. We can't risk her.
You call that sneaky?
So he has to have a combat trick, right? I'm curious. I bet this deck plays... I'm not super familiar with the list. Like, I kind of saw a deck list and someone on Twitter kind of memeing about the infinity combos with Kennen. And then there was... there was something a little bit later than that as to where, oh, we're just going to get opened with Samira, right? That's where the problem here is going to come in. Yeah. He's going to be able to open hook in the Inferno, then we're not going to be able to play cards. I think it's, I mean, if he doesn't open and we get to play stuff, we should be completely fine, but that's where we were struggling. I got like really invested in this stylish shot and we didn't really need to do it. Ooh. Okay. Well, we can do a little bit of stuff now. Pick up a little bit of card draw. Still looks pretty bad for us. Wonder if this ever gets denied. That was kind of my thought as to like if we really want to be churning through cards and picking this stuff up, we probably just want to play the Elegant Edge. You know, it's like if this Plunder gets denied, we don't even get to draw any cards off of this. Alright. Barbed Chain here to solve all of our card drawing woes. This is Father Fury. Not a bad draw. Another pirouette. Are we gonna get the shot? What a turn that would be if we if we get to pop off another pirouette this turn. It's like if opponent tries to go big with these Mark of the Storms, we have the all out as well. It's a fantastic generation off of Father Fury. Looks like they're pointed at Inferno. And a warning shot. Always cool to pick up the cards that are free. No complaints there. But I think we still want to, like, we're going to play this pirouette. I think we want to try and stop Kennen again. Like, these elusives and everything are all capable of you know, he's got the flares in hand and he's got to be able to get good hooks. I just don't want him getting value hooks, right? To where he quick attacks Kennen into Inferno and is able to just get the combat in for free. If he's at least making trades with his Conspirator and his droplets and stuff, that's a little more okay. Still don't feel like we're in a very good spot. I'm glad we got to pop off quite a bit with Inferno. She's really kind of helped dig us out of a hole here, but this is still not feeling that great. So the Samira flips, sure. Then he has the Lightning Rush onto the Father Fury. Alright, nothing we can do. We're out of manas. And the trump card. Oh no! I was like, the trump card turns up, but it wasn't a draw for the turn. We're gonna lose it to fleeting. It's too bad. That's too bad, Powder Pandemonium. I was ready to do some nonsense with you. I wonder who he takes the hook into now. It has to be Inferno, right? He's not gonna hook Fizz. That's such a sick turn for us if we get to save our Inferno. Oh wow, wow. Okay, okay. We're still in it, fam. That just can't be right. This is something that you should have learned like day 2 into Glory for Novori, is you can't just let an Inferno sit on the board. It's insane. So let's start picking up some cards. The Jagged Butchers, we could probably let him go. I think I'm a little more interested in the Elegant Edges. They do like die to a Kennen spell, whatever this thing is called, Light Mark of the Storm, but they have the capability to attack past like Dancing Droplet and Shimon Wind and the like. Feel a little bit safer going that way.
Don't ask for permission or forgiveness.
So we'll see what we do. We picked up Samira. Bring in our Jagged Butcher. And then I would like to take down the opposing Samira. That's how we're going to end up losing this game real quick, is if opponent is able to start getting rallies off of her. And so if he comes at us and has like a recall to send her back to hand, that's kind of okay. But if she's able to rally on us, it's going to be too much of a problem.
Virtues? I've got a few. Vices.
It's hard to get rich.
Give us some room.
Still cannot believe this Inferno's got to sit. Maybe we should have attacked with Samira here as well. It's like, we have all this mana and we're popping off with all this stuff. I kind of feel like we might get to start, you know, causing problems with her. And then opponent's in this spot to where if he wants to block Samira with the Pathless Ancient, then his block on the Elegant Edge is probably non-existent. And then we can come in and get that stylish shot back. We played a stylish shot at the beginning of the turn. And this way we don't get it back. And so we would be giving up Samira, but what is she going to be doing this game? And like it's tough when you get into these spots and you're like, well, the
Blink and you'll miss me.
the generating the flare is probably just enough. And so it's like that would have been like a lot of work coming out of Samira if she just got to come in and generate the flare and still deal the damage on the turn and stuff. So that's kind of rough. So she has the rally kind of generated here, and this is where the deck is going to start to pop off, right? He's going to double Mark of the Storm our Samira. He's got 2 flares in hand at 0 cost, so he's at 2 of 6 on the flip. He's going to be able to give Samira and Kennen Challenger and really start to do some nastiness. Now, without the stylish shot coming back into hand, we don't have a way to activate our plunders. All right, and so yeah, that's an interesting one. Again, the big takeaway from that is you can't let your opponent just sit there with Infernos on the board. I know that we weren't able to take down the game at the end of the day, but you should have learned that months ago, right? He let us literally draw like 6 cards or 7 cards, and we were like on the brink of just being in nowhere city, like no chance to come back in the game. But leaving Inferno on the board let us really claw back in. Don't do that stuff. But I think on that last turn, I don't think we would have been able to claw out of that one if we had the stylish shot in our hand. But I think it was definitely a mistake to not attack with that Samira, especially when we knew that opponent had the Mark of the Storms in the hand. I think the kind of like counterpoint to that is if you want to stop and think that if your opponent is allowed to kind of come in and if your opponent is allowed to come in and just like it's just like one of those weird psychological things as to where they've shown no desire to actually kill your Inferna, and your Inferna is the only way that you're still in the game. But if you trade away your Samira in combat, then your opponent is now open to killing the Inferno with the lightning storms. And so it opens up a spot to where a little bit of imperfect play can kind of edit how you're thinking of things. All right, now this is an interesting spot. I'm going to come in with the Fizz. I wanted to see if opponent was going to play a unit on the first turn, and if opponent came down with one of the 1-cost units, then I was going to lead with Elegant Edge so that we could come into this turn and start doing stuff. But he doesn't have the 1. I'm happy to just come in and add in Fizz at this point. We're getting both of the plunders. We got our real units on board. And now we're in pretty decent shape. I'm gonna lose Fizz in this combat, but that's okay. He did the work that we needed. And no way opponent passes, so we'll wait, and we'll drop Samira after combat.
Take the shot or lose the chance.
All in all, pretty reasonable. If you're up against the Kaisa deck, we did play Kaisa in our previous video. These dominations are really just here to generate the scattered husk, and so that's maybe somewhere that we're going to look to target with our Samira into the domination, but don't look at this as a high value play, right? If we're playing against some kind of Evelyn deck, then sure, but up against the Kaisa deck, it's not that important. But we can start to pop off on this round.
Stamp you out like the insect you are. Don't waste my
So we'll let that come in. We can stylish shot, get our elegant edge in.
and quiet. My mama would love you.
So we do have to worry a little bit with our Samira in terms of the opponent having the +2/+2 thing. If they do, it's not the end of the world. And so I think we still want to come in and hook the Broadwing. So at least this way, if he's got the +2/+2, the Broadwing is still just going to have 1 health. It can't come in and hook Fizz, but it's not nearly as intimidating of a unit when it has the full health and it can challenge our bigger plays. Interesting. Must be worried about an all-out. If he... Well, all-out would be enough. Oh, I forgot about that as well. The quick attack thing happening, right? So if we get to quick attack with Samira, it's going to take the Formidable down to 1 health, even if he's got the trick, and then she won't die on the swing back. That makes sense. But continuing to pop off. Even if opponent has Kaisa here, I don't think they've hit Evolve at this point. I haven't really paid attention to the keywords. They're at 4 of 6 at this point. So we'll pop off the flare. Not really interested in giving Samira a challenger. We're just gonna swing all out next turn anyways, and she's kind of done at this point, right? We'll play the Samira. We'll play the barbed chain. If things come together to where we get a rally, great. But we're at the face play stage of the game, and so we're just gonna swing with everybody. I'd like to play the barbed chain and see if we can't refill after we make this big attack. All right. What do we got? Warning shot and all out. Good draws. Monkey business. I'm not going to give the opponent a chance to add a unit to the board, so we'll just add in the stylish shot. Swing with the old squad. See if that's not enough for a lethal.
Beg. Crawl.
I had to stop and check. I was like, we're pretty close with the Samira. So with this, I'm just going to go ahead and take him to 2. We have the stylish shot coming back into hand, and we have all of this burn. My concern with that space is they shouldn't have ways to come in and deal damage to us in combat, but I don't want to risk it, right? That's a really bad spot if we play all out and then opponent plays like quicksand or something. And so it's just not worth the risk when we already have like 4 points of burn in hand. Okay, so not a bad set of games. We can pull this up and talk about it a little bit more. And so I feel like it's gotten us to an interesting spot. Outside of the realm of the deck, I feel like we've gotten into a pretty good space here. We were our 1 year anniversary of sorts video was in the previous one, right? We did 500 of the expedition videos. Expedition got taken away, and then I had to switch over to constructed because that was the only format around with 365 battles with bust videos. That's essentially a year. I know I missed some days along the way, so the actual 1 year start would have been a couple of weeks ago or something, but the 1 year mark on the videos is pretty big, and I think we've made some really good progress. I feel like I was able to kind of pretty quickly get into Masters at the start of these things, but I wasn't able to do a lot of like real serious climbing. I hadn't developed the constructed skills necessary for that. But we didn't miss out on any of the seasonals. We were always able to make the way there. We did it through the Last Chance Gauntlet and pretty much all of them. But we did kind of double qualify through some of the seasonals, having that top 700 rank. But we're starting to kind of like push up into the big boy leagues here. We've kind of elevated from that space of dumpster masters, and we're starting to get into that space to where we're not competing for the front page. We're not fighting for those top 100 spots. I haven't really got into that level of skill yet, but we are now to the point to where we're facing a lot of those really high quality players. And that'll just help elevate our game as well. It's one of the kind of interesting things that you see in poker. Like poker has such a interesting dynamic to it as to where your general thought process on how do you declare yourself at a winner at poker, right? Outside of tournaments, we're talking about cash games. That's going to be just making money, right? You say, okay, I played X number of hands over the past month. I made X number of dollars. That's the amount of money I made. Now I can decide if I want to play in bigger games based on the dollars that I have. But that's not the way that you really select these games and how it goes. What you tend to see is you're making two choices. You're making the choice, do I either want to play against people that are worse than me? That's where you're going to come out and make less money. And then that's where you're going to make your money, right? You're playing people that are bad, you're better than them, you're going to outplay them, you're going to make money. But if you do want to get better and move into the bigger games, you have to be willing to just lose some of your money so you can get into those games and actually play against the people that are better than you. And so it's this kind of interesting dynamic as to where you need to play against people that are bad as a means to increase your bankroll and make sure you can pay rent and everything. But you also need to play in these games that are losers for you against people that are better than you, because you can't get away with as much bullshit. You can't run as many plays that your opponent won't understand, and you're probably just going to outright lose money in those games. And so it's kind of an interesting balance between the two as to where your end goal is to make money, but if you want to make money, you have to lose money along the way. And it's kind of an interesting spot here as to where I've started to get to the point to where I can eyeball more and more plays to where opponents are acting less than optimal. Like I can kind of see that at the bottom end of Masters, and I'm starting to kind of see that space more frequently now. But I can also envision and recognize that those people that are in that space above me on the ladder are like leagues better than I am. Like it's like not even considering the people that just like hang out on the front page, that level of good. I'm not like even approaching those people that just hang out in the top 100 level of good. But it is nice to be in this space to where we're getting to play against them more frequently, just to get that kind of like losing to get better mindset of playing people better than us, so that we have to up our game to elevate to that level. But interesting stuff in terms of this deck list. The things that I'm kind of thinking about with it is like I always kind of consider this idea of having the deck be good now and then the deck be good for our kind of average viewer. I'm not the channel where people go to if you want to watch the top level of Masters play. I feel like I'm really here to kind of help elevate you from Platinum to Diamond, or help elevate you from Diamond to Masters. And then if you're looking to get up into that really top end of Masters, then you need to go somewhere else. But I feel like the metas are slightly different at each of those stages. And I think if you're still just kind of like grinding and climbing up, if you're in Platinum or you're in Diamond, you're in low Masters, this should be an absolutely fantastic deck. We haven't been running into tons of the decks that cause problem in that space. And so it should be a very strong climber. The thing that I'm curious about if the next iteration of this style of deck is if you don't just like kind of go back to elusives. And so I'm kind of thinking of this in terms of the next step with it is probably adding in more Father Furies and adding in Inferna. And I can't really decide if you'd really prefer to kind of cut this early plunder package and just go straight back to the old version. I think that that's probably like too much next level thinking, and this style of deck will carry you pretty far through the remainder of the patch. And so I really like this one. I like the idea here with the Pool Sharks. And I think we touched off on a lot of very valuable and informative games with this. And so again, this is if you start to queue into Samira Fizz these days, you should probably be expecting more of something along the lines of this, and not so much the elusives version. But, you know, it's not entirely fair to make that assumption as soon as you queue up. If you do queue up and you see an Elegant Edge or a Jagged Butcher or a Pull Shark in the early turns of the game, then you can pretty easily assume you're playing against this kind of version, this unit-heavy plunder-heavy kind of version, and not the Burblefish Elusives version. But the thing to kind of note with both of them is both iterations are playing Powder Pandemonium at this point. And so you do have to kind of keep in the back of your head, you might just get burned out for about 8 points of damage from the Powder Pandemonium because everybody's playing it at this point. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. Hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way. You had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.